Nice. And if you are in our Zoom meeting as a participant, please put yourself on mute unless you are speaking. We are currently live streaming this meeting.
Commissioner Wilson?
Here, but I couldn't hear anything before you said Commissioner Wilson after the chair introduced herself. Can you hear me? Yes, no?
Okay.
I can hear Melissa.
Are you not using that then?
Not mine echoes.
Okay. This better?
I can hear you. I could hear Chair Fitz. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I could hear Chair Fitz and then it was dead for a while until I heard Melissa say Commissioner Wilson. But now I seem to hear you well. Present.
Great. Okay. Commissioner Williams. Here. And Commissioner McCarrick. Present. Vice Chair Coker.
Here.
And Chair Fitz.
Here. If we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Robert, you want to lead us?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, we are operating under these new meeting guidelines. I will explain our meeting procedures. Agenda items will be open for public comment before final action is taken via Zoom or email. Because we are operating in a virtual setting, I will call on my colleagues one at a time to speak. After commission deliberation, I will call for a roll call vote by the city clerk. And please note that we do have limited seating available at the city chamber. Our first business item under public hearings is item number 1 for consideration of conditional use permit application CUP 2021-14 for a commercial cannabis microbusiness in an existing dispensary allowing cultivation, nursery only, manufacturing, distribution, and retail. The recommendations are that we had sought PC Resolution 2021-11 and 2021-12 to approve conditional use permit application UP 2021-14 and recommend the approval of development agreement DA 2021-02 authorizing a cannabis microbusiness permit for Alvita LLC company and finding it exempt from environmental review in accordance with the CEQA. And if we can have a staff report.
All right. Everybody hear me clearly? So, conditional use permit application 2021-14 is for a cannabis microbusiness, which involves cultivation, manufacturing, retail dispensary, which is existing, and distribution. The key intent of this permit is to allow permit holders to vertically integrate their operations. Staff is suggesting that the planning commission find the project categorically exempt and adopt DC resolutions 11 and 12, approving this use permit. It is in the cannabis combining district as well as the downtown commercial mixed use zoning district. And we find these to be compatible with the use permit approval. The application involves the existing dispensary and then the new uses would go into the 2 units on each side. But the entire structure is existing. They don't propose any kind of expansion of the physical footprint as it is.
Go into a little more detail for what Susanna was just going over. So the total square footage is approximately 2,083 square feet of commercial property, and it's separated into 3 distinct units. So the smaller square foot space is approximately 524 square feet, and that is to the north. And that's going to be intended to house the manufacturing and nursery operations, as well as an 86 square foot administrative office. And there's a 586 square foot unit to the south, which will accommodate the remaining distribution activities, employee restrooms, break rooms, and 95 square feet of additional office space, including a digital recording equipment area with limited access for security. Then almost all the proposed floor space is designated for limited access, with the exception of the 720 square foot retail area known as Triple Collective C. So during the review process, the project has been circulated to various federal, state, and local agencies for commenting, including environmental health, air quality, Clearlake Police Department, Public Works, and various other agencies, and no adverse comments were received. We have our generic comments that we always receive as majority of projects, which have been incorporated into the conditions of approval as well. So some of the conditions of approval, if you refer to attachment 1, so we highlighted just some ones that are kind of standout conditions, such as condition number 12, which pretty much sums up that with the municipal code, the applicant needs to submit items A, B, C, D, and E, F, G, H, and I, J, K for review. Then also condition number part of condition number 12 is like number H. It says civil site plans, identifying the existing and proposed storm drains, drainage ditches, curbs, sidewalks, gutters, striping as regulated by the city's design and construction standards, off-street parking regulations, and parking design standards to be found in compliance with all other applicable local, federal, state laws, including ADA and CAS requirements. So this would be improving the sidewalks and everything along the So if there's any additional questions, Susanna and I would be more than happy to address them.
Commissioner Wilson, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Roberts, for clarification on H and, or 12H. What's the timeline for compliance with those conditions, specifically curb and gutter?
So it would be probably as soon as possible. The applicant would have to create the plans and have them created and submitted for review with our in coordination with the city engineer and for review and approval.
Thank you. I have one more question. In the development plan, it indicates a 5% of gross to the city on a twice yearly basis. Is there an estimate for what that revenue would mean to the city?
We don't have the answer.
So we don't have any estimates at this time.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any more questions, Chair Fitz.
Commissioner Meeker?
My question was actually similar, if not the same, as Commissioner Wilson's, which is if there was a timeline for the curb and gutter, and then just another question after that, but this is for a later date on curb and gutter stuff. So that was my question. And then I suppose the other question I have is, are they going to be able to operate under their dispensary license as is until the transfer into their microbusiness license?
Yeah, we currently consider the dispensary to be legal non-conforming, and they've been.
Chair Davis?
I'd like to request a short break. If possible.
Okay. Take a quick break.
I had a good question. Exclude myself.
Okay, we're coming back to order.
Okay, so I have to exclude myself from this discussion because I own a business within 500 feet of business.
Call you back when we're done. Commissioner Williams, any questions?
At this time, I have the similar question to Commissioner Wilson.
I think you guys actually answered all of my questions. I do see that you have on there regarding legal lot status and stuff. I would assume we're going to be making merge the properties together.
Yes, that was our intent.
Okay. So, I got all my answers there. Don't know if the, is there any questions within the audience?
I can get the applicant opportunity.
Before it's that public? I'll be happy to take your direction and have them speak.
If the applicant wishes to speak on this item, please raise your hand within the Zoom. Madam Chair, there are no hands raised within the Zoom room. And we have no public present.
No public. The applicant doesn't want to make any comment. If we don't. Commissioner Wilson, did you have any other questions?
No, thank you.
Commissioner McCarrick?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Williams?
No, thank you.
Okay, so then I will take a motion.
I move to accept resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Clearlake concurring with issuing an exemption under SEQA Section 15301, Class 1, existing facilities, and approved use permit UP 2021-14 and commercial cannabis regulatory permit CBRP 2021-02 for a cannabis microbusiness at the property located in the CB Downtown Commercial and CB Commercial Cannabis Business Zoning Districts at 3995 Alvita Drive, Clearlake, California, APN 040-043-34.
You have a second?
I'll second.
And clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner McCarrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Chair Davis,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Coker has left the dais, so he is absent.
Do the second one.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Read the second one.
And this is just a recommendation, right?
Correct.
And do we do staff comment on that, or do we just don't make a
If you have
motion?
any questions, I mean, the same development agreement for all of them.
Commissioner Wilson, do you have any questions regarding the development agreement?
No, thank you.
Commissioner McCarrick?
I do not.
Commissioner Williams?
No.
And nor do I, so someone wants to make a recommendation?
I move to accept resolution number PC 2021-12, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Clearlake recommending the City Council adopt an ordinance approving the development agreement DA 2021-02 for Angie Decoy Aquaba LLC for the property located at 3995 Alvita Drive, Clearlake, California, APN 040-043-34. I will second that.
And a roll call?
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner McCarrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Chair Davis,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Coker is abstaining and absent.
So we can go get him now, right? You have a report for us, city manager?
Sure. We'll start with the bad news first. Suzanne is leaving us. She's decided to relocate closer to family, and good news is she's going to continue helping us for a while on various projects. But really appreciate everything that's been given to the city over the last couple of years. She's situation that wasn't ideal at the time, learned really quickly. Always had really good reviews from the community and working. So thank you for everything, and thank you for we are actively recruiting now for a new assistant or associate planner. So far, I think we've received quite a number of applicants, so. Just update on a few projects. We have a ton of projects going right now. There's a lot of activity at the counter, and then a lot of sort of city-initiated projects. We're familiar with the Burns Valley Sports Complex. So we've been working on the design for that. There's been a lot of work going on out there on the ground. All the walnut trees were removed over the last couple of weeks. And we're also working with a housing developer to do between 80 and 100 units on that property. Just a lot of stuff going on there. So it's an exciting project. There's also a lot of things going on. The old Pierce Field, we have some agreements that we've put into place. We're expecting a number of kind of property transfers over the next year or so related to that project. And city's intending to put in the primary infrastructure. Hopefully starting on that sometime later this year, but definitely there's going to be a lot of activity out there over the next year. We're expecting, we've been expecting something like this for a while, but the Starbucks project is expected to break ground before the end of the month, so we get to see that finally happening. Getting a new DMV branch, space between Tractor Supply and Big Five. I don't know if some of these things they've mentioned to you a couple earlier, but as they're coming to my head, I wanted to throw them out there. So because they're planning on being open in August. And of course, working on a number of additional cannabis permits currently that are at various stages of the process. I believe all of you are confirmed for a special meeting. Appreciate you guys working primarily to make sure that our chair is here. Get schedule conflict. But thankful that it's going to work out. And then just one other thing that came up, we had our first administrative use permit hearing this week, which is something that it's a different level of review in the new zoning ordinance. So that is sort of in some ways similar to this forum, but this is director level review. So that was the hearing. We still do public notice for neighboring property owners. This was for what would seem like kind of a simple permit. I won't get into the details, but the applicant did not attend the hearing, and there were some conflicts with the neighbors. So I denied that permit. The applicant stated it to appeal that hearing, but I just wanted to share this because it's kind of a new process. So the applicant doesn't agree with my decision, they can appeal it, which will come before. Maybe seeing that one. And then not as much related to land use, but we are planning to have as normal of a July 4th holiday here in the city as possible. So we met with the Lions Club. They're planning on doing the parade, the carnival, and most of their normal stuff. And of course, the fireworks show, and the city is putting together details on having our first concert in Austin Park that thing. That's my report. Questions? Staff.
Any questions?
I was gonna add for top of what Alan mentioned. We've been courting, Suzanne and I have been with developer for Canocti Gardens, which is 102 unit affordable complex. They recently just submitted their final documents that we need to process and initial study for it. So we will be beginning on processing that as quick as possible.
it wouldn't require a use permit or come before the commission or anything.
Yeah. Well, it's a very large project, with the new state housing law. We're actually not allowed to have the normal discretionary process, that we do for a use permit. So, something that has to be handled administratively. This one, most cases, if it's less than 100 units, it's actually exempt from CEQA entirely, but because it's over 100 units, we're doing the initial study. If that project will not.
Do we have any commissioner reports? Commissioner Wilson?
No, thank you.
Commissioner McCarron?
I do have a report and then also a question. The report is that the Chamber of Commerce, the Lake County Chamber of Commerce is doing the Year of Youth. And so they're doing a whole program targeted towards engaging youth, mentorship, a program to do Lake County history. So hop on their website, check it out. And if anybody wants to sign up to be a mentor or donate any prizes for their dance competitions, yeah, it's a great thing to be involved in. And then my question is, maybe, I don't know if this is something, I didn't have the time to do the research, but there's been a lot of questions. I've fielded a lot of questions. I don't know if the other commissioners have about curb and gutter. And so I'm just wondering if this is something that we could bring up, if there's any way that the city ever does curb and gutter, as opposed to putting on the businesses to make it more of a comprehensive plan. If that's even a topic of conversation. If not, then it's the answer.
Well, I could address that a little bit. Depending on what area of the city, it's definitely a tough conversation. With the cost of doing a large project, it's difficult. That's why a lot of people, including Clearlake, have these regulations that if you do over $10,000 improvement, you have to improve the sidewalk. Now, our primary focus at this time on the city project is on Lakeshore Drive, sort of the downtown area. And so there's been a number of things done by the city over the years, including some design and then more sort of artistic work related to what the corridor should look like. But we're in the beginning stages of taking those pretty old engineered plans that were done in the 90s and incorporating sort of some of the beautification elements that we would like to see, including additional street lights, street trees, addressing some parking issues, storm drainage issues and things like that. But that's a little bit out. I'm optimistic that maybe we can start seeing some action on that next year. But really our focus at this time is primarily on Lakeshore Drive from here, actually to Highland Park, initial focus. But of course, that's a multi-million-dollar project.
So it is something that the city theoretically could do. But
Oh, yeah.
it's just a larger thing with a lot more funding needed behind it.
Vice Chair Clifford?
Yeah, I got a few questions. We'll go back to the curb gutter and sidewalk. Since it's up to the business to build it, is it gonna be the business's responsibility to upkeep it, or is this now city property?
So I'll be brief. We're really not supposed to answer questions or have a discussion in this type of forum unless it's an agendized item. But it's something that's constructed in the public right of way. So once it's constructed, it's the city's responsibility.
And then my next question is, or my next concern, I should say. There's a Chevy pickup and an RV parked across the street in the park. I read in the city plan, I believe, I could be wrong, but it said that nobody can live in the park. This guy's been there for months. He leaves for a few days. He comes back. I have a friend of mine that has been run off of their property by code enforcement for living in an RV with all of the hookups. Got water, sewer, and electricity. But they won't allow him to live on his own property while he's attempting to get the permits to build a home. But this person can live at the park. I have real strong concerns about that. He's having to pay $1,000 a month in an RV park.
As it relates to planning commission business, you are, you have an active building permit, you're allowed to have temporary permit to live in an RV. You have to have an active building. And related to anything else, I mean, you could refer the blank to code enforcement if you haven't done it already. Related to the park.
I was wondering how Marcel is coming along, Alvita bakery.
We actually just received, architectural plans for the site layout today. We were doing those, our comments.
I think applicant underestimated the approved use permit conditions and their ability to meet them in a quick fashion. So we're working to get it going. Take it longer.
Could you repeat the question? I heard part of the question and part of the answer.
I was just asking about Marcel's, the bakery.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any requests for future agenda items? So I'd like to thank everyone who took their time to be at the meeting and offer their comments. If there's no further business, now adjourn.